Welcome into Attacking Third. You know, of course, I am Christine Cupo, but I am here with the one and only Jessica McDonald today. We're going to hold
Hey,
it
hey,
down.
hey.
J Mac, how you feeling?
Oh, you know what? I'm pumped. USWNT's national team got a W. It's a beautiful day today here in Michigan. Sun is out. Mama's happy.
Hey, we
How
got to
about
give a
yourself?
shout to the chat today. I'm so happy to see them. I feel like it's been a really, really long time. Missed you all, smooches. Love you. Interested in hearing what you all have to say. And of course, we're coming in on the back of the U.S. Women's National Team versus Portugal, part deux. We're going to run through a starting 11 breakdown. We're going to talk about who stood out. But first and foremost, we want to thank you for joining us here on Attacking Third, whether you're here with us live, especially on YouTube, watching on Galazzo Network, or listening to the podcast. I'm feeling fine. I'm back in it. I'm locked in. It's a good day, Jessica
Let's
McDonald. It's a
go.
good day to be a
Yes.
Women's national team fan. And most importantly, off the top, tonight at Rentschler Field, we honored Connecticut's own, the one and only uncle, Alyssa Naeher, 115 caps, 2 World Cups, an Olympic gold medal, as she took a well deserved bow before the next wave of U.S. women's national team fans rise. From the ground she guarded to the net she dominated, her legacy will live on inevitably, indubitably. And everybody got uncle bobbleheads today. The first, I think, 1,000 people in attendance. How fun is that?
That's so cool. I'm low-key a little upset that I don't have one. I would totally put one up on my
Damn.
bookshelf next to my trophies. Are you kidding
You
me?
know what, Jess, I was going to ask you, I'm like, you know what? Like, you've done the whole retirement circuit. You've done the smiling, the waving, the collecting of flowers. What is the overall vibe? Like, I know it can feel a little bit bittersweet and well earned. How do you think Alyssa's feeling today, finally getting to, do this on some home ground soil?
You know what? Knowing Alyssa Naeher and how humble of a woman she is, this is probably one of the most humble people that I've ever had the privilege of knowing and playing alongside. But I think one word that comes to mind expressing the way that Alyssa's probably feeling in that moment, being at home also, is gratitude. She's a very grateful person and she's so awesome. And so I know she's just feeling gratitude and I'm sure she's very satisfied with the way that her playing career had gone with the U.S. Women's national team. I mean, just some legendary stuff. So I know she's feeling gratitude, and I know that she's just, just feeling all the feels, just pure happiness.
It's an honor to get to watch a player like Alyssa Naeher just grow into a role that could be no one's but hers. And obviously, we've talked for months and months ad nauseum about who the heir apparent could be. But it's also been nice to watch her personal growth in the fact that the kids really got her, Jess. They really got her accepting hugs and affection and watching her kind of be, oh God, why are you hugging me too? Like open arms. It's just been such a sweet, sweet trajectory for her just as a human, but also from the outside to be like, damn, man, she's going to be so missed in the US national team camps and the big tournaments. But then we look at today and like, what a fitting note to usher in one of the youngest starting 11s that we've seen for this women's national team. And my word, I gotta say, I don't want to say I was nervous going into this game looking at that starting 11, but the overwhelming, like, average age being 23 for the collection of players that Emma Hayes chose to field today. We saw a younger backline, but we saw an entirely reinvigorated, extremely youthful, we're talking teenagers, 18, 19, 20, in that midfield today. And my overall feeling is really, really positive. The ball movement looked really good, and we got some sauce back. We got some back
So
heels and flicks
much
and fluid
sauce.
movement. Jess, what was your overall full match reaction to this squad?
I love that you touched on this midfield because when you really observe the game of football, you're watching players, that's me. I'm very observing now that I am on the other side of the line. I'm no longer a player. Now I do media now for the game. And so now I have to break down, watch these players' movements as if I'm going to be watching film later almost. That's how it feels. And so what stood out to me the most, and I was so pumped today, so juiced, and I'm so happy you touched on them, was this young midfield. I mean, just the pizzazz, the ball movement, the no look passes, the disguise passes. Lily Yohannes is looking this way, she's passing the ball that way. And my goodness, that girl's hips are unbelievable because her disguise pass, just to switch the point of attack, that's how much I love this game. Just something as simple as switching the point of attack on your opposite foot from the other way that you're going. I'm like, this girl is so impressive. It's like she has eyeballs at like every trajectory around her because she's dropping dimes. And then you sprinkle a little bit of Moultrie, and then you sprinkle a little bit of Claire Hutton, who goes through these tackles so hard. And I'm like, this girl is tenacious. But just looking at this midfield, man, I was so pumped. And I was pumped to see that starting lineup, and I was pumped to see what this midfield can do together because we're talking about young women, not only that, who are hungry, not only that, but who are trying to prove themselves to make the World Cup squad as well. So when you're coming into a game like this, you're getting one of your first starts. You don't have as much experience, but you're out there to prove yourself. And that's exactly what happened today. And that's the most exciting feeling about sports when you see some of these underdogs getting some playing time and they show you their talents. That's exactly what we saw today from this midfield today.
Just looking back at the last match against Portugal, I think the key takeaway there was, they weren't able to one, maintain the style that Emma Hayes wants to see, right? They weren't able to control tempo or the game. They weren't stringing together passes like we know the U.S. women's national team can, to the point that this match, heading into it, people are counting how many consecutive passes in a sequence, by decree qualifies as control. We didn't see that this game. We saw a fairly well-composed team coming up against a Portugal side that does have some really incisive players that are dangerous in a lot of positions, and we saw a lot of those fireworks very early on in this match. We saw the bulk of the goals happen within the first 10 minutes, and we know for the US now, this is a series of matches in which they've managed to score goals very, very early on. This two-pack here of Portugal matches with Rose Lavelle's goal, and then Olivia Moultrie, who we absolutely have to dive deep on because this is a player that we've had a front row seat in seeing both develop for club and also country, but seemingly take massive, massive leaps more recently in a smaller amount of time. Now, goal scoring, Jess. You know how to get the job done. It seems like sometimes this U.S. men's national team kind of approach attack the same way that I handle wings, where just they leave meat on the bone. But I think we're starting to see some more very, very polished, incisive, line breaking passing. Again, a little bit more sus, but Olivia Moultrie specifically from a creation point and finishing, even when it maybe doesn't look like she got like a full boot on a ball, um, her direction and composure in getting these balls off and also finishing. This is your arena, Jess. What do you see in terms of what she's refined? Because we know she's worked with Rob Gale more closely in recent months. She seems to be scoring goals only in two packs now, right? Like these braces that she's just coming up with, like, no, 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 no. It's two or nothing. I don't want them. What is the holistic that you see as somebody that knows goals better than almost anybody else, world class?
You know what? There are certain aspects to Olivia Moultrie's game that she brings onto the pitch that not all players do. And let me go ahead and break down one of her goals. Lily Yohannes dinks a ball over the back line into the front foot of Olivia Moultrie. Moultrie volleys it into the box. It bounces out. Okay. Olivia Moultrie is coming from like outside the half space a little bit from that cross, and she continues her run inside and finishes it on a volley first time. Is just brilliant, and just simple movement, crashing the box, assuming the ball's just going to come at your feet. That's a little bit of Olivia Moultrie's game that she has gained completely playing under Rob Gale, and you're seeing it here at the international level as well. Now, let's talk about her other goal coming from Jaedyn Shaw. Jaedyn Shaw, she holds the ball up. Her first touch goes to the outside, and then she does a no look back heel into the run of Olivia Moultrie coming in deep. She's coming in deep. and she had such a small pocket of space to finish this ball. Okay, she takes a perfect touch inside this little tiny space that she did not have much space to get a shot off, but she takes a perfect touch right onto her left pegger. And kids, if you watch this game today and you saw Olivia Moultrie's goal, you don't always have to use power. All she used was just precision and composure. And she just passed it right on in with her laces into that far post. Those are the little things that Olivia Moultrie has gained and that she has brought to her game at the international level and also for club as well. And I mean, just a magician with the ball as well. I love her and Lily's connection. And mind you, they're so young. You know, Lily being 18 and then Olivia Moultrie, what, just turned 20? My
Yep.
goodness, I feel like I've been watching her grow up, you know, like she's my child. I'm like, my
I'm
baby
like,
growing
you
up
kind
so
of have,
fast.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yes,
just prom, and now what?
right.
No, it really is kind of revelatory in terms of the strides in such a tight amount of time. But yeah, that goal in particular, just I started writing down notes like they were cryptic because it was just like, my God, the way that she can turn her body in such tight space to manage to slot that ball literally as far over as that post without going right beyond it was so surgical that Patricia Moresh, you see right beyond her gloves. She knew exactly where she had to hit it with limited room to do anything else. Another player that stood out for me today, and I'm so glad we've seen her sort of over the last few weeks since she's joined Gotham start to flourish again. And a lot of that is both the players around her and her capacity to reach the next level in a very short amount of time. And I'm talking about Jaedyn Shaw. Jaedyn Shaw today, even in tight spaces, very comfortable looking. Tiny little flicks, getting the passes off, getting a few really great defensive actions off. It's so nice to see her rise to the top again. I know for a while there, everyone was scratching their head and kind of saying, I don't know, man, North Carolina wasn't the right choice, but she's coming back to life again with this Gotham side, and it's showing already again for the US. Now, remember, we hadn't seen her in past camps. More recently, we've seen her dip down to U23s, to a little bit of like the younger camps. And it seems like that's really paying off now in the long run because her quality has not only returned, but I feel like she's taken it up a level. Tell me what you're seeing, Jess.
Oh, absolutely. And you know
Eh,
what? I would have loved to have seen her and Roosevelt play today with the US for the USA team because they have been absolutely brilliant together with Gotham FC and then applying that brilliance between those two together, you know, from club to country, playing the way that they've been playing. But you know what? I have to say this again, and I said it before. The fact that Jaedyn Shaw and went and joined Gotham FC. I have seen Juan Carlos Amaros develop young midfielders throughout his coaching career with Gotham FC. Neely Martin came in. She's an outside back. She ended up playing six for them in 2023. They became champions. Um, Jalen Howell came in. You know, she hasn't done much throughout her pro career until she came to Gotham FC. Now she's flourishing. Jaedyn Shaw was a perfect player for Juan Carlos Amaros to come out there, and he's going to bring out all of her strengths and more. And you know, and a player like Shupansky, she's a striker. She's been playing eight with Gotham. So that lets you know Juan Carlos Almaros is doing something right in that midfield because he brought it out of Jaedyn Shaw. And look at her. She's back, baby. And we're very happy to see it because she is flourishing.
We are at the perfect position right now to take a really quick break, but we will be right back with yet another Gotham player because we still have to talk about the composition of that back line for the U.S. women's national team today and what they effectively did, anchored by Sonnet. So stay right in your seats. We will be right back. Hello and welcome back in. It's myself and Jess still. You haven't missed anything, but we do have a super sub joining us. Don't you worry, because our next topic of conversation is what else but the defense for the U.S. Men's National Team today. Emma Hayes put out, again, yet another youthful back line, but we didn't see any of the real mainstays outside of Avery Patterson and then, of course, Sonnet. We had Lily Reel out wide, and then we had Jordan Bug as part of that center back pairing, which we know Banger's only Bug. She has managed to travel and she's got some goals from range already as a rookie. She's shown out. This was less than her handful of caps for the US women's national team. So, what a way to show up and get Emma's nod of approval to start this match beside Emily Sonnet, of all players. And then, of course, the goalkeeping question, I guess, still floats about. We had seen, of course, our favorite microbiologist or marine biologist, rather, in goal for the last Portugal match. However, we saw Claudia Dickey back in today, and it was kind of a very turbulent first 10 minutes of this match for everybody involved. We saw Sonnet as this stabilizer back there, and then we saw Avery Patterson doing her work on that wing, especially in some of that link up play. Business as usual for her. But Lily Reel, we've seen her for Gotham and we've seen how she stood out. She has been somebody that we've talked about a lot this season in terms of, for me, her composure, maturity, and just overall, just she's a smart footballer. She really, really is. You can see how much quality is there and how much is getting cultivated both by Juan Carlos Amaros at Gotham, but also what Emma Hayes is seeing there. And then, of course, Jordan Bug. I think for me, there are only a couple of little hiccups in terms of miscommunications, I'd say, in the back line. But I think that's fairly typical when you swap everything up so quickly like this, Jess. I mean, what is it like when you have adjustments, even coming from the top line looking back, when you're trying to acclimate to, I guess, I mean, not I guess, Emma Hayes is testing chemistry here in a massive way. I think your generation really had the benefit of having a lot more stabilizing presence where you guys were really locked in. There wasn't a whole lot of changing and swapping and testing. But how much does that change for you when you're trying to get a feel for what's happening, especially with a team like the US now that you want to maintain possession and tempo? How do you keep that all together as a squad when there's so many moving pieces?
Yeah, as long as you get the team bought in what you're trying to do. Okay, these are our pressure pockets. Okay, this is how we're going to press. Okay, this is how we're going to shift if there's a player in this pocket or in this pocket. This is how you guys interchange, etc. So Emma Hayes has a game plan. It's all about applying it at that point. But the most challenging thing when you play alongside someone that you haven't played with is having that chemistry and understanding this player next to you, what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. Okay, does she like it to, her front left foot, or would she rather take that touch with the outside of her right? It could be so many different things. And so seeing Emily Sonnet next to Jordan Bug, I don't think there's not many other defenders here in the US that could bring the most out of Jordan Bug being next to her other than Emily Sonnet because she's a very vocal player. If the camera is ever on Emily Sonnet, her mouth is like this. And so
Yeah.
she's a very brilliant defender as well. So I know she's going to bring a player like Jordan Bug next to her with less experience. Like, hey, I need you to slide in. Hey, left shoulder, look over your left shoulder, bumper. She's going to communicate. I'm not sure how Claudia Dickey is when it comes to communicating, but as long as you have that communication, especially at that center back position, that's the most important position to communicate from because you have everybody else in front of you that you're trying to maneuver and then your partners who are beside you as well. And so Emily Sonnet brings that to the table. And I think that's one of the main reasons why, US women's national team were successful today.
Yeah, the only player in that back line over the age of 25, which is insane. I'm like, all right, I get it. I'm just going to cough dust and start digging my own grave. It's fine. It's totally fine. I don't feel old at all. Um, she's obviously a vocal leader. We did see a couple of instances where it looked like maybe Claudia Dickey should be a little bit more vocal, calling them off the ball where it was an easy scoop for her that instead Sonnet would go in for to just clean up, where I think that leads to the question of, how quickly can this chemistry build, because you're not really sure. You don't have that trust in each other yet where for sure without a shadow of a doubt that, hey, she'll scoop that, I'm good. Um, I know that the chat, I see you guys. I know I'm not tippy tapping for you today, but I see you guys talking about the World Cup and who would quintessentially be that goalkeeper. And so, do I think right now that PTJ is out of this conversation? No. I think that today was a test for Claudia Dickey, who hasn't had very many opportunities yet to start, to see what she can offer, especially in juxtaposition to the performance that we saw in the last Portugal game with some of the more senior players. I'm not looking much further into it. I think there's obviously the question of it, right? Just like, I'm not going to wildly speculate like, oh, that's it. Fallon Joyce is out. It's obviously a Claudia Dickey's job. No, I think that they both offer something very different in the goalkeeping position. Fallon Joyce for me is a very calming presence in goal. And I think that that is extremely important, especially when you get younger players in the outfield where it's, hey, I need to tell you where you need to be. Lily, you need to drop back a little bit, girl. You're sitting up too high. You're going to leave Sonnet hung out to dry to try to clean this mess up for you back here. Things like that that just needed to happen. And yes, I see the comments. Dickey wasn't tested today. But how many more opportunities do you think Emma Hayes gives a Claudia Dickey to be tested?
Big question mark. But you have to understand,
Yeah,
Claudia
like when
Dickey,
when is enough,
yeah,
right? When do you see
yeah.
enough? Because remember, we had this conversation about Fallon Joyce when we were begging to see her get starts. And then she started to get those opportunities. And boom, I think we all kind of fell into this. Oh, I like that. I like that. We could do that without, some of the more rigorous testing that any of the goalkeepers have had.
I completely agree. But I love that Emma Hayes is testing the waters, though. Claudia Dickey is killing it at the club level. We've seen little sprinkles of her with the U.S. Women's national team. Let her get her reps in. Let Claudia Dickey do Claudia Dickey things because she's there for a reason, and that's because she's great at her position. But I love when people say, and you just spoke on it, how Fallon Joyce is so calm. Y'all, she swims with sharks, man.
Yeah.
Of course she's gonna be calm. If you're swimming with sharks, you better be one of the most calm people outside the water. You know what I mean? But honestly, yeah, she's definitely my number one right now, and that's because of her composure. And you already marked on it, her calmness. But you could tell she has so much experience back there too, and she brought what she had at the club level onto the national team, and that was her very first cap. She did that. She impressed me completely. And then, as games went on, just being the incredible shot stopper that she is for her club now and for the U.S. Women's national team, she's definitely my number one, because if you swim with sharks, I'm sure you'll be able to have my back on the field as well. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I know I promised y'all a super sub, and
Oh,
we can't get through this back line and goalkeeping situation with bringing in Satara Murray. So welcome
Yo,
in, girl.
yo,
my
what's up? What's
fellow
up? What's up?
Tar Heel. What up, my sister from
I've
another mister?
missed you. Damn, I'm way outnumbered here. I should have worn my light blue. I messed up. Satara, so glad that you could jump on with us.
Thank you.
Always happy to have you. We were just tinkering and talking through the goalkeeper situation, of course, as a defensive anchor, the importance of goalkeeper, their commanding presence, and all of that. We talked about Fallon Joyce. Obviously, she got the start the last match against Portugal. Today, we saw Claudia Dickey in. Do you think that this chemistry testing, as to what Emma's doing, do you think that this closes the door on Mandy McGlynn, or could we still see her reappear in these camps?
I think we could. I mean, I think we could still see her reappear. Obviously, I don't think. I mean, Claudia had a little bit to do tonight, but I don't think as much as maybe Fallon had to do on Thursday. But I think what I like about Emma, at least, is she gives people an opportunity. You see what she's done throughout these camps since she's come on board, and I don't think it's for her. It's ever shutting the door for a player. I mean, we still have one more game on Wednesday, so we'll see what she does there. But obviously, Fallon and Claudia both have had really good showings in the camps that they've been a part of. But I wouldn't say that a door is completely closed. But we'll see what happens on Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, and Jess and I were just talking about this backline selection for today. So we had Lily Reel,
Yep.
Jordan Bug, and Sonnet paired in that center back
Yep.
positions, and then Avery Patterson, who's kind of become this mainstay in the back line for the U.S. women's national team. I know the chat are hollering because we want your thoughts, but they're saying we need to keep exploring this center back position. I know that earlier in this season, we talked a little bit about that left back role, how it seemed to be an exploration in terms of who would be the best fit. And we've cycled through over the years with, Crystal Dunn in that position. We had Jenna Neiswanger in that position, and nobody really stuck. Is there anyone whose performance so far of the youth or otherwise that we've seen that you think right now is a lock in terms of she's got it, or we can get her to where we need her to be by World Cup time?
You know what? To be fair, watching Lily Reel today, with her being a natural left-footed player, I think that helps tremendously. That puts her kind of ahead of players who are obviously naturally right-footed. Obviously, Foxy can do both roles, playing right and left. Obviously, more so on her right side. Obviously, Crystal as well. But if we can kind of get Lily, I saw glimpses today. I don't know about anyone else. I saw a lot of glimpses today. In this game today against Portugal, where I thought, okay, you know what helps her and what puts her on top is the fact that she is naturally left-footed. We want somebody that can hit those balls in behind naturally left-footed, like a Alex Greenwood, for instance, in England. So based on today, if we can get really kind of getting those reps, and kind of getting that comfort, perhaps maybe her. I was impressed with the backline in general today. I think it was a big step up from Thursday, having obviously Jordan Bug in there. And I was really intrigued to see how Jordan would do against Jessica Silva. Obviously, with how pacey she is, how crafty she is. Obviously, Jordan is 19. So coming up against that talent, you don't know what's really going to happen. But she kept her, she kept her in front. She kept her composure. She had that calmness about her. So I was really impressed with Jordan Bug. Avery Patterson. Now I know we're talking about the left side, but I just kind of wanted to give my opinions on the performances across the board.
Give us all of it, Sarah. All of it.
Really impressed with Avery Patterson, man. Like, obviously, I watched her on Thursday, and I thought, okay, like so. But today, and her in that little link up between her and Olivia Moultrie, Olivia going in, inverted, and then having that outside that space to kind of drive at the back line, pushing in those crosses. Her ability to run at Portugal's, back line and going 1v1. She has this thing about her. Obviously, we see her do it with Houston, but in my opinion, I thought she had such a good game today. Like, she was my standout player between her and Yohannes. Like, I was all over about Avery Patterson, because as a fullback, that is what you kind of want to see coming out, with your fullback, someone who isn't super conservative or no one that's super liberal, but someone that's kind of in between, and defensively and attacking wise, I thought she was brilliant. So
she's so tenacious.
Yeah, she was, and I was like,
tenacious. Her tackles. What? When she goes into a tackle, I wince. I'm like, oh, I know that girl ain't getting up no time soon. It'll take me 3 to 5 business days to get up from one of her tackles. Yeah, I'm happy I'm retired. I ain't gonna lie. At this point.
That's what I'm saying.
Spoken like women with limited knee cartilage left. We got the extras in the tank. We're like, no, I'm saving that for a holiday. Leave me alone.
Thank you.
But yeah, I thought they had a really, really good game at the back line. Obviously, with Emily Sonnet being back there and having that experience, having that leadership quality, obviously wearing the armband today, I thought she did a really good job with just kind of keeping everybody connected, having everybody on the same page, which I think was what we kind of missed on Thursday, was that disconnect between the lines. But we saw that compactness, that connected, that connection between all 3 lines. So overall, I thought it was great. I was really happy with the back line, but Avery Patterson for me was my standout player for sure.
Yeah, Avery Patterson in that back line, I literally had my little note like around 28th minute, because I was like, that flick from Olivia Moultrie.
Yeah.
The way that both of them have the capacity to cut in, but also Avery Patterson going the extra mile. For me, it's the try hard of it, where it's like, no, I'm not letting this ball. She literally just decided to pin it and spin it. She ran that to the line and cut it, and I was like, those are like the little intangibles that really like tickle me spiritually.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh God, I love this about this team, because then that turned into a chance for Alyssa Thompson.
Yeah.
Like, they have this ability, despite the fact that maybe there's still a lot of disjointed pieces,
Right.
to sort of step up and create unselfishly for each other, and
Right.
also like pick up where the other has left off. That's like really, really promising.
Yeah.
We've seen Avery Patterson too, before we stray onto some other players,
Yeah.
have this ability to tuck inside at times,
Mhm.
in the same way that Emily Fox does.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I feel like if we can get that sort of complement on both flanks,
Yeah.
they could be absolutely terrifying,
Absolutely.
unstoppable,
Absolutely.
nearly as scary as some of our attacks. I feel like there's a lot of depth in the attack.
For
We've
sure.
seen this rotation flow through,
For
but
sure.
we haven't really seen the depth or the, I'd say, the grippiness
Right.
of the defensive back line in a cohesive, like,
Right.
oh, that's it.
Yeah.
That's our back line.
Yeah.
We need that and nothing else.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think, I think, I think the thing is, like, you kind of have to see what works, I think it's going to take a little bit to kind of see what actually flows, what actually just kind of comes organically without feeling like you have to manufacture something. And it's going to take a couple of camps, but today I think it was such an improvement. But like, just, you and I were speaking on the episode on Thursday about not having those aerial threats, I think both attacking and defensively. On the goal, obviously, with Jessica Silva, out jumping Emily Sonnet and getting that header, I think that's what we kind of need to work on and get is that aerial threats in the back line that are able to win those, just those aerial duels. And so I think that's another component that might be missing as well. But again, you're just seeing what works, what flows, and what gels.
How much does, let's say hypothetically, we're looking at this younger back line, but we have Naomi Girma back.
Yeah.
How much does that add and polish what's already there? And also perhaps kind of in the same way, and again, Girma is younger. It's just that she feels so senior that you're like, oh yeah, like you're like 300 years old in football years, but like in all the good ways, the
Right.
experience, not the wear and tear.
Right.
How much does that change the needs of the back line?
Well, I think in terms of the center back position, I think we can, with Naomi kind of re-entering back into the conversation. I think between with her and Emily Sonnet, that's a pretty good pairing right there. Obviously, now we're just kind of having to focus more so on the fullback sides. Now, do you put Foxy back on the left and then have Avery Patterson on the right? Do you switch them? Do you bring in somebody else? I don't know. But I think with Naomi kind of getting back into the convo, she's obviously super experienced. She's a brilliant defender. I don't think we would have to worry too much with her and with her and Sonnet. I think they're a pretty good pairing. It's just not figuring out what happens on that fullback side. So yeah.
The people say yes. The people say Girma Davidson pairing. Yes.
Perhaps,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yep.
It's less of a talent situation for the US, but more of a healthy talent situation that we're
exactly.
kind of
Yeah.
trying to navigate right now. And again, we're getting lots of shouts in the chat for Kayla Sharples, who's been, I want to say excellent, but I feel like that fails to adequately capture
Mhm.
how she's actually elevated that back line for KC.
Mhm.
Do we think that Emma is beyond her tinkering in terms of calling in a Kayla Sharples to kind of test this out? Or are we really kind of looking at our core youth at this point? Because we've seen these repeat call-ups for now Avery Patterson, which has been well-deserved. We're seeing, I feel like, a little bit more exploration into Lily Reel. Jordan Bug, now this was her third senior team call-up. Do we think there's room to keep tinkering? Or at which point, for you as a defender, Satara, I'll ask this. At which point do you say, like, okay, enough is enough. I need X amount of time. When is the cutoff point for you where you're like, no, I'd like to have this under tight grip before we head into the World Cup?
I think obviously I don't know, with Emma, I feel like with her, she'll continue to keep trying to figure it out before it takes. Like, obviously, playing overseas, playing in England when Emma was at Chelsea, you just saw her always constantly doing things differently, So I don't think this would be any different. Now, you can tell that she's perhaps kind of leaning towards the youth. I joked a few weeks ago saying like the youth is our future, which I mean they are, and I think you kind of have to have them, kind of coming into this setup, more consistently in order to kind of get those reps, and kind of really feel out, okay, what works. But with Kayla Sharples, obviously it was unfortunate with her getting injured and then, not having this opportunity. But with her having such a good season with KC, I personally think perhaps she'll get a shot. But I think Emma is leaning towards maybe a younger group. Now y'all can obviously we can kind of debate with this, but I think perhaps maybe she'll be going down the younger route for sure.
How old is
Yeah, we know
Sharples?
she like let me check. I don't want to lie to people,
Check
but
and see how old
I know
Sharples
that
is.
her name was peppered all in Emma's post.
I did
And
hear that.
so
Yeah.
28, she's 28 years old. So,
See,
the ripe age of retirement. I'm kidding.
yeah, she's not
Oh,
young, but
Oh, let
she's
me
not
let me
young,
go
but
ahead.
she's
You
young.
know what?
impactful.
You know what? No, 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 no. I think Kayla Sharples has an incredible opportunity because she has been one of the most consistent players this entire season in the WSL. Number one. Number two, let me give you a little rundown on my little itty bitty journey with the U.S. Women's National Team. Y'all,
Give it,
I
tell it.
came in, I got my first caps at like 28, 29.
Okay.
AJ, none but a number, and then ended up making the World Cup squad at 31. We
Okay.
were an older team, majority of my teammates were around my age already, but I'm talking these are my first camps. And so I feel like if, a player like myself who was performing, and I could say this now, there's no more humble jets. I could say, hey, I was performing,
Oh yeah,
I
let's
got my
go. Wait,
shot,
you
you
forgot the
know.
part where you are also like successfully excelling at momming.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Two of the hardest jobs on this planet.
Right.
Obviously juggling both was crazy, but you know what? I think Kayla Sharples has plenty of time to make a name for herself to squeak into a camp. And
Mhm.
please believe if she makes a camp, she won't leave a camp. I think she
Okay.
she can be in World Cup contention. I'm calling it now. So
Okay.
Kayla Sharples, if you listen to this, no pressure, honey. Let's go. I'm rooting for you.
None at
We'll
all.
we'll let her we'll let her release some of that pressure. We're gonna take a really quick breaky break. Don't leave your seats. Stay tuned. We will be right back. And we're back. We're going to spin this little baby forward because obviously we have our crystal balls at our disposal. We can do whatever we want. But I want to talk a little bit about how Emma is balancing very experienced players and the very, 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 very inexperienced players so far. Because I'd say I'm giving Emma Hayes like an A plus plus for what she's managed to do because it's been completely uncharted territory.
Mhm.
We have never in the history of the US Women's National Team program seen so many call ups, the variety, the youth, the actual starts for these youngsters. It's completely refreshing, but it also is, a little bit scary to forge forward like that, especially for Emma Hayes coming in the way that she did. But she came in as a lion, and we got what Olympic gold within less than 3 months of her tenure starting. So
That's it.
let's, yeah, yeah. I mean, God, is there nothing better than gold? Oh, but I digress. So, like, let's look at the most cap players. You all know these, like Lindsay Heaps at the very top of the heap with 168 caps, right? Running all the way down to Alyssa Thompson, who has now been, I'd say, a mainstay for this U.S. women's program with only 23 caps. That is a massive, massive cavern to close in on. Jess, been there, done that. What is it like as you sort of usher in some of these newer players, knowing, hey, like I'm very used to this because I'm sure you very much can teach older players new tricks. I'm not going to say dogs because that seems derogatory, but legitimately, you have players that are coming in that you're being looked up to now, and you're also trying to reach this common goal, which is reach that level of success repeatedly that you have done always. How do you see this happening with this big gap in experience?
You know what? This was the perfect time for Emma Hayes to come in as head coach. I mean, we're talking a complete reset button after, you know, Megan Rapinoe, Ali Krieger, Alex Morgan. I can go down the line. Tobin Heath. There was a huge chunk of players who were at the tail end of their playing careers. Carly Lloyd as well. And so, um, once that next coach, whoever it was going to be, was going to come in, they were going to have to pick the right talent. Emma Hayes came in and she did exactly that. Now we're looking at Sophia Wilson, Mallory Swanson, now Lynn Williams or Lynn Biondolo out due to pregnancy or just having their kids, and now this is a whole nother reset button. Okay, and now I need to bring in new strikers. Okay, who's performing right now? So what Emma Hayes has done is she has brought in the best talent who can represent the United States of America and is putting little pieces of the puzzle together. And I think with this loss, a few days ago from Portugal, it's like, okay, we need a loss sometimes. Not always is the U.S. Women's national team going to win, regardless what kind of game it is. At some point, you got to lose. Okay, how do we learn from this? All right, we're going to throw in some young guns who are hungry, and so Emma Hayes is is inspiring these players who are getting these caps, who are getting these opportunities. And that's what I love seeing most is players who deserve the opportunity getting their opportunities. And so this has been a long time and a long road to see that, because not always have we seen new players coming in getting chances here and there. It'd only be like a sprinkle of one or two players coming in with the U.S. Women's national team. Now we have a huge bunch of the best who are able to show their talents for the U.S. Women's national team. And I am completely here for it. And Emma Hayes is doing everything right because there's still so much time until the World Cup.
That's a really good shout, Jess, because I actually don't think we talk about how much the domestic soccer landscape has changed since the CBA.
Mm-hmm.
New challenges, I'll call them challenges. I mean, there are good things on one side, but it's challenges. We've never seen the number of players essentially sidelined, pregnant, and having babies than we have in this particular last cycle that's been trickling over into US camps and just roster adjustments for club in terms of how do we move forward from that. And it's never had to be a conversation or something else additionally that coaches have to navigate, or players as they make their way back in. It certainly is a new feature in terms of even like rehabbing to come back in. But seeing all of these change in addition to what Emma Hayes has been able to accomplish, I feel like makes it even more impressive, because nobody has been previously asked to manage all of that on top of the usual comings and goings managerially. So Tara, what do you make of what Emma has been able to do so far, including, you know, maybe the questions of like the US haven't really truly been tested? And you could say like, yes, Portugal has, right? Because quite frankly, they took their first loss in quite some time on American soil. I think it was only like the third time since like the 80s that that's actually happened, which, friendly or not, is still a pretty remarkable thing to happen. And not to get all flowery, because I am fiercely competitive, but you do learn the most about yourself when you fail, when you haven't executed. And I feel like we haven't seen that at all. And it's a humbling moment. You saw some of the senior players, the last Portugal match, that were fairly solemn, that, tough on themselves, which is what you expect for anyone that's been honored to wear that badge, including Sam Coffey. Um, how does that conversation spin forward into today, where we saw 8 changes into the lineup? The risk appetite is clearly there on Emma's behalf. Do we consider this now 2 matches, this a success? Is this a reinvigorated team? Or are there any positive indicators that you kind of picked out that you said, hey, you know what? this has been the most efficient test of the US so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest question was how were they going to bounce back from Thursday? Because, based off of interviews and that we heard Sam Coffey, talk about, oh, you're gonna get a different, different side on Sunday, which, to be fair, we definitely did. I think every team at some point has to fail, they have to lose. And I think it's what you do to bounce back from it that really determines what kind of team, what kind of sort of environment you are. And I think Emma has done an incredible job so far coming in with kind of creating this environment where it's okay, we're not going to get too down on ourselves, but we are going to hold ourselves accountable. We're going to try to rectify the things that went wrong on Thursday and make those things right come Sunday. And I think Emma, she is the perfect person. I think, kind of piggybacking on what just said, that it's the perfect timing for her to come in. So much things have changed with her coming in, and I think that's what this culture needed, was some change. It was to give people an opportunity that perhaps wouldn't have gotten an opportunity beforehand. This is, creating a culture where you can fail but learn from your failures in order to succeed, and that's exactly what she's doing. This is why she is one of the most successful coaches, in all of English football, and then coming over here and taking that and bringing it into the U.S. soccer culture. So, I honestly believe that what she's creating, the dynamic that she's creating, the culture that she's creating, is such a positive thing. It's giving people an opportunity. We are missing out on quite a few players due to pregnancy, due to injury. And now it's about giving players an opportunity not to step up, to the plate and see if they can, add some success to this team. So I think, today for me was a huge indication of where this program is going and where they'll continue to keep going. What I enjoy is the fact that they stood on business. They said, listen, like we're gonna come out, we're gonna do right by the fans, by the supporters, and really kind of right those wrongs that happened on Thursday, and they did. And what I do like is the fact that she did switch up the lineup a bit, giving people an opportunity to go out there and kind of, and do their thing and do really well at it as well. Adding this much younger team, seeing what they can go out there and do, and they did very well. So, and I love that there is this balance between inexperience and experience. I think you're giving people an opportunity to kind of, work with the players that are super experienced and get that under their belt. So it's a great thing that's going, and I'm really excited to see what they do moving forward. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday and seeing what happens for sure.
We saw obviously a Portugal side that don't mind not having possession, are really quick to hit you in transition. They have the attacking teeth to get it done when they need to. They're looking down at the October 29th now. The US will be playing New Zealand, which slightly different. Again, a team that will play in transition, but more defensive minded. We know that they'll sit compactly. The US in the past or more recently have had not the easiest time, which is, I feel like, fairly common, trying to break down low blocks and things like that. Do we think we'll see a huge change in the lineup, or will this be like another sort of rotation back to the more senior players to see if that's another test for them? Obviously, we don't really know how New Zealand will line up, but we have some pretty good guesses about how they generally play. Their midfield's pretty stable. They're a little bit more predictable. Do you think that Emma will play it safe going into that match, or we'll see this sort of influx again of more senior players?
I honestly think that I I don't know what's going to happen. This is just a prediction, but I would love to see, half of what we had on Thursday and then half of what we got today. So I think it's going to be another mixture of players just to see how they play, next to one another. And so this is just a great opportunity and a great time frame in order to do so. These are friendlies in order to prepare themselves, moving forward, going into World Cup qualifications. And so I think we're going to see a completely different lineup again come Wednesday, because that's the point of these players coming into camp, and that's what she's doing. She's one of those few coaches who is allowing everyone who comes into camp to play. So I think that we're going to see some different players coming in, and I think it's going to be a mixture of both games. So maybe we'll see an Emily Sams, maybe we'll see a couple other players so that we can name, but I think it's
Ooh,
going to be a little
yeah, I
different. We'll
feel like
see.
we talk a little bit about Emily Sams, and she ends up getting called into camp, and then we don't actually really get to see her very often. So that's actually a good shout. I think for me, if we're looking at the schedule and what it's shaping up to be, like New Zealand, and they have Italy twice, I think I would like to see them get, again, a little bit more tested and see how well we can integrate some of those more seasoned players. I did really the midfield today really impressed me, I
Oh my
have to
gosh.
say.
Yes.
Um, they're very young, but they're very dynamic, and I feel like a little bit scrappy because you have like that positive competition of like, I have a lot to prove right now, especially when you're looking at, again, somebody like Lindsay Heaps, who's so many caps to her name. And then, a Sam Coffey, who me personally, one of my favorite defensive middies, that she just you can't imagine the team without her, but they played so well today. And she had to, pull up and still get a goal today, but
She sure
whatever.
did.
Okay,
Um,
Kubo. Okay,
yeah,
so you were a midfielder when
yes.
during your old playing days.
Not
Who
yeah, not
if
nearly not
there's
nearly as talented as these kids, but yeah,
but
scrappy,
if there
scrappy.
was a midfielder that you can choose to play next to on this current roster for the U.S. Women's national team, who would it be?
Oh damn. Like the whole roster
Why
or like
and why?
today's?
The whole
Today's
roster
or
that's in camp right
whole
now.
oh,
This camp,
oh, that's so hard because we have so many talented midfielders. Like we actually have such champagne problems in the midfield.
Mhm.
Um, goddamn. Um, I mean, like Rose, are you kidding? Just
right?
because, like, that's a
Hey,
cheat
she
code
be
right
cooking
there.
it up.
But yeah, like she could do things that defy literal like geometry, physics, and among other things. So like whatever she needed, I would literally be like, I will lay the ball off to you wherever you need it, babes. I will
Yeah.
find. But of the youth, I think I really, really like Jaedyn Shaw just looks like a lot of fun to play with. Like, even if I could get her like small side, she just seems like a really fun play, like smart and one of those players that you can, I don't know how to explain it. Like, how there's players you can feel, like you
Mhm.
don't necessarily have to look for them, but you could feel them.
Yes.
Um, yes, like 1,000%. So anytime you want to kick around Jaedyn Shaw, I'm happy to use the last 2% of my knee cartilage.
Amazing.
We'll let her know.
Um, my goodness, I mean, I love yapping with all of y'all, but I think we have to start wrapping up or they'll just like grab the Broadway hook and just pull us right off. But um I will say the quick fire and then we'll wrap it up, gang. Who right now, is there anyone that you would throw out a name for an absolute World Cup lock as of today? You could be risky, you could be sure-footed. I'll judge you either way.
Um,
Okay, I'm gonna go with Avery Patterson.
Ooh, okay. She stole that right out from under you, Satara. I saw it. She glanced your way.
nah, you know what? And I was going to question, are we sure Miss Yohannes is 18 years old? Because this is out here playing like she was damn near 27. Like,
Why did I
I
say the same thing?
she is
Yes.
unbelievable. I was looking at her, I was like, there's no way. I'm gonna give that's gonna be my pick.
Okay.
Buddy, watching her play Champions League football and have the audacity to chip a keeper is now imprinted on the back and possibly the front of my brain. So,
Her
yeah,
her
that's a
vision is insane. And the fact that she can just dish out these balls on a platter for the she's not 18. Somebody
Thank
go check her
you.
birth
Drop
certificate.
the mic, Sadie Mae. Go
I'm not
ahead, sis. Man, I said that too. Man, she's just brilliant, boy. I'm like, she's 18.
18.
I,
No way.
I was
You
still
know what I
tripping
was
over my
doing when I
own
was 18? Not that. So like
sis. I was
we're gonna
tripping over my
pretend
own
file
shoelaces still at 18. What is
literally
this?
404 file not found. I don't know anything about me 18. I don't know. But what I will say, mine, I'm gonna go with uh going Fallon Tullis Joyce because I'm gonna alley oop that so that maybe I can have the prescience of them clipping this later and being like, damn, she was so wise those many months back. And not like it being a brand new incumbent that they're like, oh yeah, she's shiny and new, but she's the starting goalkeeper forever. And then the entire social media and internet will dunk on me for perpetuity. It's fine.
absolutely.
Um, well, uh, that's it. Attacking Third will be back on Wednesday, October 29th at 10 p.m., count it, 10 p.m. Eastern time, with another live reaction show after the US take on New Zealand. So that is goodbye for now from JMac, from Satara, and myself. Make sure to follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcast and leave us a 5-star rating, 5 stars, and review. We're also available on youtube.com/WGolazzo, and catch us on the CBS Sports Golazzo Network for all of your women's football coverage for the last time. For Jess McDonald, Satara Murray, and Christine Cupo, this was Attacking Third.